Now, say my name.
The Rolling Bad Podcast.
You're goddamn right.
Welcome to the Rolling Bad Podcast, episode number 33. Coming to you from the desolate wastelands of Albuquerque, New Mexico. We're recording on October 22nd, and I am your host, Elric Edge. And with me tonight are
Bill Costello
And James Tapia.
I just now noticed, Bill, that you put October 22nd.
Yes, I did.
Well played. Tonight's show, we are going to be discussing the stuff that's come out recently, what we've been up to, all those fun things. And Bill has some critiques of the community. Would you say?
No, I don't want to say a critique. I just want to...
An observation, if
Observations that... I was listening to the Scrubby and Wells podcast, and he brought up some really interesting points in the last couple, and I'd like to expound upon our thoughts about those.
Would one of those be that Sylvaneth are susceptible to mortal wounds?
Well, there's that, sure. And I don't think they are. Well, anyway.
Oh, good times. All right. Yeah, let's do a show.
All right, let's get going. The Realm of the New Dawn. I always bring that one in. Why?
Yeah.
I remember that now. So we're going to talk about the new stuff from GW over the last couple of weeks. We have had the good drops. We had the Moon-based Cassius come out, or Clasis. I don't know how they want me to pronounce that. It's a terrain set. We'll cover that here in a second. Got some interesting little side things that aren't quite GW. But in the Age of Sigmar realm, we've had two really interesting drops in their own right. We've had Dumpster Firestorm, and we've had, that other game. Oh, Shadespire. Yeah.
Well, Warhammer Underworlds.
Warhammer Underworld.
Shadespire.
Into the Mirrored City.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. I want to start off because I'm going to be the negative Nelly here, and we're going to cover this more when we get to lore. But very rarely do I question why I purchased a product. And when I look at Dumpster Firestorm, I have to say, why on earth did I buy this? Wow.
What are you trying to say, Bill? Did you not like it?
In a small way, there's a couple of niggling issues it has.
Okay.
Like, it's not a campaign. It's not a campaign system. Inside of it are rules that, I don't know, are kind of silly. Yeah. It's kind of, well, now let's make this. If you're Order, it's got a lot of great rules. If you're anyone else, just go smoke something. We don't need you. So,
well, maybe those other factions should have stepped it up during the Time of War campaign.
And had I known, I would not have turned in so many fake results for Order. I mean,
yeah. Wow.
No, really. I mean, Firestorm, as far as the components and everything goes, it's absolutely beautiful. The map is fantastic.
The hardware is great.
Yeah, it's fantastic. And really, the only thing I have to say about the campaign system is it's not persistent. It's not ongoing. So let's say you and I play a game using these rules, and you table me, and then we decide tomorrow to play another game. Okay, we just both start with the same armies. There's nothing. I have suffered no penalty for losing yesterday. So My stuff just continues on as if nothing ever happened. So it's just a way to link scenarios together.
I think this is kind of something they touched on with Blood in the Badlands for 8th edition.
Yeah.
It was like a campaign thing. And I think a lot of people got a little upset because it wasn't quite the in-depth campaign system they were hoping for. And I think GW's response, if I remember correctly, was you can make it as in-depth as you want. We're just kind of giving... Or maybe it wasn't Blood in the Badlands. It was Mighty Empires. Because Mighty Empires had like nothing.
The tile set was, the rule set was... It was like Planetary Empires for 40K. The rule set was very... simplified, and it really just gave you a framework to use if you've never used like a map-based campaign or a tile-based campaign.
And their response basically was, we're giving you kind of a skeleton to work with. You guys can flesh it out as much as you want, because if we come up with a super in-depth campaign system,
it'll be wrong.
You'll still change things that you don't like. So why not? We'll give you the hardware to work with, and then you create the system that
The
you
rest
want to
of it.
play with your friends.
Yep.
So, do you think maybe that's what they're trying to accomplish? With
I know it
Firestorm
was.
as well?
I know it was from looking at the rule book.
Then why are you so negative, Bill?
Because I wanted them to do the work for me.
Oh, okay.
I want my AOS privilege. Okay. I want them to do it for me and give it to me on a platter. No, and I'm not really down on it now. I know I call it dumpster firestorm.
Yeah.
Just for fun. The components,
Clickbait.
it's worth, yeah. Yeah. I'm the spiky bits of Age of Sigmar. So it's really, it's more than worth the price for what you get in there. The stickers that you put on the map to indicate where everybody is and where everything's happening, they're the kind that peel off, so it's completely reusable. You can use
magical stickers as they
they're just color forms. Yeah. They're the old, if you're as old as me, you remember color forms. So
is that how they track dinosaurs?
Yeah, it was how we tracked their movement, so we'd know when it was okay to walk to work uphill both ways in the snow. Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah. So it's well worth the money, it being an offshoot of the campaign from last year, and it's how the order cities are being set up, and you're sort of helping to establish what's happened during that, in that time frame. So it's really neat how it does kind of tie into those results. And you have cities that you can represent, and each city has some special rules. And this is where it goes a little bit off the rails. They've already had to do one errata for some of the city rules. And, there was that big thing about if you painted for that city, you get the rules. If you don't, well, they had to back off that real hard. Now it's just, if you are painted for a certain city, you can't use anything else's rules. So, and they also said you can't use specific faction abilities with the city abilities, because boy, were there some was some really broken combinations. So they've worked with all that. The one thing I don't like is the way they said that these city abilities confer in any matched play game. So if we rock up to LVO and little Johnny has a copy of Firestorms, but little Betty doesn't have a copy of Firestorm, he's going to be pulling something on her she has never even had a chance to practice against. Yeah. So if you want these things to apply to everything, put them in the General's Handbook. If you want this to be a niche thing that lives on its own, put it out in its own box. Don't tell little Betty she has to go buy this box in order to have a chance. So that's my only real big beef. So.
Okay. All right. Fair enough.
That's my rant.
Sweet. All right. And then the other thing was Shadespire.
On the slobbering flag waver. Yeah.
I mean, I don't think that's really much, is it, Shadespire? I haven't even really heard anyone talk about it.
I think it's kind of a little niche game. It's like the old Gore Chosen game.
What's that?
It appeals to like 4 or 5 people. And
it's the Dread Fleet of Age.
Yeah, Dread Fleet.
Ouch.
So, yesterday while James was doing real Age of Sigmar stuff, we had a Shadespire day. And my God, is that game fun.
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
I have not had a chance to play it. I sat in a corner and built my models.
Yeah, quietly.
Punched out all my tokens and everything. Sleeved all my cards.
Yeah.
Like a
good GW subservient.
Yes.
We're proud of you. I did the same thing.
Okay.
Except I actually went back and bought another set of sleeves because the number of sleeves that come in the pack is only good for the core set. And in the core set, it's only good for the core cards. There's a set of extra cards that come with it to, add a little more spice to the game in the core set. And there's not enough sleeves for those.
So it's the deck building aspect. Mm-hmm. So those are extra cards that you can slot into your deck.
Right.
They give you enough sleeves for your actual
deck. Yes, you will have enough. I don't mean to say that they don't give you enough. You're right. That was bad phrasing. You have exactly enough to play the game.
Right.
But I want to have all my stuff sleeved. So
why not get like those 9-card sleeves that we used to put all our magic cards and stuff in.
Okay, so for today's contest, we're going to give away 2 sets of... No. I'm kidding. That's a good idea, though. Yeah.
Yeah. That way you can keep them organized, alphabetized.
Oh, God. Oh, I can enter.
I'm speaking to that OCD. And
yeah, you just hit me right now.
No,
so
anyway,
we're done recording for today.
Games Workshop, because I know you're listening. This is the next multi-million-dollar idea. Oh, awesome. Come out with a card binder.
Yeah.
Where they just Sigmar artwork all over it. The card sleeves are just big enough to put your Shadespire extra cards.
That's right.
Booyah.
Card boxes.
Sell them. I mean, it'd be like the White Dwarf binders they were doing for the weekly White Dwarf, but, more manageable and without strings that slice your fingers open.
You know what really made me cry yesterday is I threw 4 unopened boxes of those White Dwarf binders away.
Yeah.
Because I just don't do weekly anymore. So, yeah, it's kind of why do I have these around?
Yep.
Yes, I definitely need more GW organizational componentry in my life.
There you go.
So
I will take my residuals in the mail.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. I don't think we need to go over, in lore, we'll cover a little bit more on Shadespire and how awesome it is.
Yeah, I mean, it's probably one of their best covered releases. I mean, there's so many videos out there, playthroughs they did, how to paint the stuff. I mean, it's crazy. I can't wait to get my hands on the Iron Jaws.
Oh, yeah. And the Death. I can't wait. That's going to be fantastic. But I think really what's going to be really crazy about Shadespire is this is going to be a crossover game. This is going to hit things like Board Game Geek, and it's going to be in game stores that aren't GW niche stores. It's going to be where you find out all the other Euro games, and it's going to give people a look into the hobby as a whole because it has a wide-ranging appeal.
Yeah. Well, and the way they're going to apparently cast all the different factions in different colored plastics.
Yes.
So you don't really need to paint the models.
Right.
Without...
Well, yeah, that's it. It's just like any other one of the Euro games out there. The components are good enough as they come.
All the different colored meeples or whatever they call them.
Exactly. And, they're every bit as good as any other game out there.
Yeah.
Other than you have to build these, and most of those you don't. But still, it's going to be a great
But you don't need to drop a glue to do it.
No.
It's all snap tight.
Yeah, no, you just cut them off and bam, you're done. And I noticed what was really funny when Duncan did his video on assembling these things. He did it in such a way that he literally just put the cutters up against the plastic, snip, snip, snip. He didn't file anything down. He didn't use the knife to clean off the little extra bits of plastic. He slapped them together and put them out there. And I think that's their mentality going forward, that not going forward for everything, but for this game, they want it on the table in 10 minutes after you
Well, he didn't even do that for the those Space Marine kits in Japan. Like, he just snapped them out with his hands.
Right.
And didn't clip anything. I mean, didn't use a blade.
Yeah, the Space Marine Heroes.
Didn't use glue, nothing. Which was pretty interesting.
Yeah, it just shows that they have a different approach depending on the crowd they're going after. Which is smart. I mean, that makes good sense.
Yeah, it's almost like they finally realized that telling some kid that he needs to drop $800 on a high elf army isn't a way to get somebody into the game.
Maybe not a good gateway drug.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Oh, and after you buy the $800 worth of models, you need another $300 worth of tools and paint.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
And books.
Mom, can I have $1,100?
Yeah.
I want to play this game once. Okay.
So,
also that came out, and this is more in the 40K realm, but that Moon Base Glacis came out, which is real interesting. It's a complete departure. We're all used to the fat mats or the Roma battle boards, the big heavy plastic ones. These are cardboard. These are the thick, heavy cardstock. Two-sided. So on one side, you have a Martian landscape, which is all red. On the other side, you have kind of a pockmarked crater-marked city. Yeah, moon type base. Could be why they call it Moon Base Glacis.
Well, not all moons are white, Bill.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Check your moon privilege.
You know what? I'm going to go outside and look up right now, and I'm going to count how many moons I might see that aren't white.
Yeah.
So,
in the middle of the day.
Okay, well, I'll wait
with your bare eyes.
Yes.
All right, take that, science. Anyways.
Don't you try to gentrify my moon bases, pal. Okay? And it comes with a little bit of terrain, a little bit of snap fit terrain that also works with the rest of the
just
sector Mechanicus. Yeah, it's 40K terrain. It is most definitely 40K. But still, it has a little bit of crossover, because if you look at that Martian landscape, it's that deep red. So you could use that for anything in the realm of fire.
Okay,
so,
yeah.
I mean, I'm not saying go out and buy it for Age of Sigmar because it's awesome. It's not. But if you have it, you can use it for AOS. It will.
But it is, I mean, it's like a Battlefield in a box for 40K. So again, it's another one of those easy, because the Realm of Battleboard is like a $250 investment or something like that.
And that's before you paint it.
Yeah.
So.
And it's...
And this is an $80 Battlefield in a box. So
that comes with terrain.
Right.
As well as a battlefield. So that's pretty cool. Now, have you played on it? Or did you just kind of bust it out?
I busted it out. I have not played on it yet.
Does it seem like it would, if you put it on a table, would it slip around?
Yes.
Okay.
You're going to have something in...
So you just go down to the Dollar Tree, buy a couple of those plastic placemat, or not plastic, like the little rubber,
rubberized sticky
throw
placemat.
2 or 3 of those down,
or that stuff you would use in your drawers, that drawer paper, shelf paper stuff. That'll stop it. So, and it'll also protect it. The one thing I don't like about it is hard cardstock. So when you roll dice on it, everything within about 6-8 inches jumps a few times.
Around.
Yeah.
So don't roll dice on it.
Yeah, use a rolling box.
What size? It's a 4x4?
It's a 4x6.
Really?
So, yeah. Yeah, no, they're not glossy, so things are not going to slide. Miniatures hold pretty well on that surface. They don't go sliding around.
You would have to be careful folding it and unfolding it.
Yes, it is a confusing.
Well, and if you do it too quickly, you could tear.
You'll snap it.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
but I do like this a lot.
Yep.
This is a good idea.
And it comes right at the same price point as a fat mat. So,
But would you rather have... Well, I guess you get the buildings extra?
you get the buildings, and
Yeah,
the
you
other
get some
thing, too, is
terrain.
this is a
How many
lot
extra-
smaller box than...
This is easier to transport.
Yeah, if I'm on a bus going downtown, I don't want to be carrying my fat mat with me.
Right, it just looks like you have a rifle. In the
That's
back
true.
of your-
Well, stay proud, okay, let's not go there.
Yeah. No, I'm not gonna...
Yeah, and the terrain is cast in the rust color, so all you got to do is really hit it with a little bit of black or green dry brush, and you're looking good.
Duncan did a video on painting this stuff
on
up
how to do
real
it.
quick.
Super
so,
simple, yeah. And he dry brushed both sides different colors,
Yeah.
and that was pretty much it. A wash to tie it all together, and you're done.
Yeah, and then if you want, you can add the little details, or you can just have it be generic 3D terrain on a... That's nice. I like that. I hope they come out with some more of that stuff.
I do too. I would kind of hope that... I would hope that they would do stuff for AOS. I know they did the 4x4s.
Yeah.
Yeah, but let's get a 4x6 for the AOS guys. Come on. Please.
I think let's just stay the course. I think there's some AOS love not far down the
Oh, I'm thinking February is going to be a big month.
Yeah, or maybe January. I mean, we had January this year.
Yeah.
So I have a feeling like Death is going to get
some love.
A whole bunch of love.
Yeah. Well, it better, otherwise it's
a whole lot of love, as Robert Plant would say. So.
Last thing I wanted to cover in New Dawn, today is the day that Rob Symes comes back. He starts his Twitch TV channel. We are recording, it is 11:43 Mountain Standard Time, so in 17 minutes, he's going to start broadcasting on Twitch TV. So tune in now. Oh, wait.
a little late on that one.
A little late, but yeah. Anyway, Rob Symes is back. So
the Honest Wargamer,
yes,
is his channel on YouTube. I haven't looked him up.
That's
on Twitch
what
yet.
he's going to be on Twitch too.
Okay, so there you go.
Yeah,
check that out. Oh, and another quick thing, and it's not in the notes, is WizKids.
Oh yeah,
picked up the 40K IP for board games, etc.
Yes.
So here it is, gentlemen. We're getting ClickBase 40K, 8th edition tanked.
That's
Games
right.
Workshop's going out of business. They're selling it off piecemeal.
Yeah.
WizKids
is buying Games Workshop. That's why they're coming out with all these products.
We're going to get pre-painted Ultramarines with eyes that are painted different sizes.
Yeah.
Thick enamel paints.
Definitely no Moon Clan.
No. I'm actually really excited about this.
Oh, yeah.
I think WizKids has been a game developer that has evolved significantly over the years, and I've been with them since like day one. Mage Knight was a revolutionary tabletop game. I mean, you can say whatever you want about it, but that was like the perfect gateway drug for something in the 90s to get
people into it.
I mean,
how you got in, isn't it?
Yep. Yeah. Spread from Pokemon to Mage Knight than the real games like Warhammer.
Well, I mean, when I was younger, looking at the great big shelves of second edition 40K and 4th edition fantasy and my mom wouldn't give me $40, $50, $60 to buy that stuff. I could weasel $9 to go buy a booster, you know, so it was a little more manageable and it allowed me to get into tabletop games. And
like you said, they've matured quite a bit as
they produce actual legitimate board games and stuff like that now.
Good stuff.
And maybe it means that we everything won't be $100 board game for Fantasy Flight. Like every one of their flipping board games is great board games, not crapping on the quality. No. They're worth $100. It's just maybe drop a $40 board game every once in a while.
And, you know, how about get a little bit more mass appeal? I mean, Forbidden Stars is a phenomenally good game, but it's not real approachable to the, you know, unless you're in that Fantasy Flight Games sort of genre and you like their stuff, it's not something you're going to run into often, unless you are hitting Board Game Geek and things like that, where that stuff is talked about. Yeah. So, I think getting with WizKids, you're going to see a lot more approachable stuff.
And they can make anything from like super in-depth board games to really simple, easy to get into, and they're definitely a company that could put their stuff in, like, well, I guess not Toys R Us anymore, but
no, not exactly.
You know, certainly Walmarts and stuff like that. And if you can get a board game, something, you know, like a Shadespire or a Gore Chosen or something like that, but a WizKids style game for $40K into a Walmart, some kid buys it and they're like,
and their whole distribution network. I mean, I think that's one of the big reasons why GW licenses to these either Fantasy Flight or WizKids in this case is you need to get into that distribution market. Yeah. They don't have an easy in to the bookstores. They do have their books in bookstores, but it's harder to stock.
Well, that's Black Library, though.
Yeah, and it's real hard.
Why pave a whole new road when there's other companies?
There's a guy already there.
Have it all established.
So, you'll get into Barnes & Noble. You'll get into all of these different weird specialty stores that they already are in. So, go for it. I'm really looking forward to what they come out with.
Absolutely.
So,
and I would imagine there's probably some stipulation like they had with Fantasy Flight where they can't make models the same size and all that stuff. So we won't see click-based Marines and all that. No. Oh. Despite what the interwebs may say.
I was going to start that rage.
It's already out there.
I know.
I'm already
a day late. Damn it.
Yeah.
No, I think it's a good thing. It's a good thing.
Yeah.
So anything else for New Dawn?
Yeah, you can play a Vindicator or a Predator in World of Tanks Blitz.
Tanks, yeah.
It only takes you a full-time job's worth of hours to unlock them, potentially.
Sure.
Somebody actually broke down the math of what you would have to invest into the game in order to unlock those tanks. Okay. And it's a minimum of 5 hours a day playing for the 10 days that you get access to it.
Okay, yeah, I'm all over that.
Yeah. I started playing it and I was like, oh, I can't wait to... What? I have to do what?
Yeah.
Oh, but they'll be available to just buy with real money.
Sure.
At the end.
Oh, of course.
I don't know. I mean, it's a super cool idea. If they're not crazy expensive, I may very well check it out because I absolutely love the Predators. You can get it with the Imperial Fist color scheme. So if I can buy an Imperial Fist Predator for less than like $5 for World of Tanks Blitz, I may tool around with that.
Have you listened to the Mob Rules podcast at all? I need to cut out a snippet of that one to play for you. It's about Imperial Guard. And I mean, every time they go out, they get basically wiped out as a chapter. And it's just too damn funny.
Oh,
and
no.
It's just great. Hey, let's run down the subway. Blah, everyone's dead. I thought you would like it. It's just too funny.
And then also, Warhammer Quest 2, The End Times, is out on iOS, and it will be out very soon on Android. And this is obviously the sequel to the video game version of Warhammer Quest. It is not done by Rodeo Games. Rodeo Games is...
defunct?
Yeah. I mean, depends on who you ask. I think there's one guy that still hangs on to it or something.
I think so, yeah. There's like...
But
because they have a support structure thing or something.
Well, and they just released a few months ago. They released the original Warhammer Quest on the PlayStation Network. You could get it that way, but this is done by a company called Perchang, and it's fantastic so far. I've played a good deal of it. It is, I feel, quite a bit more difficult than the first one. Because,
Really?
yeah, you open a door, and instead of it being like, I don't know, like 3 or 4 clan rats and maybe a storm vermin in the back, it's like 20 to 25 beastmen in a room, and then you got to go through like 6 or 7 rooms like that.
Oh, God.
Yeah, it's pretty rough, man. You can kill a lot of stuff.
Wow.
But it's a lot of fun. Group you start with has some pretty sweet flavor. It's got a Empire Captain, a Blood Knight, a Dark Elf Sorceress, and a Glade Guard. And then they decided to go with the EA approach and have DLC on day one, which I don't know how I feel about that, but I'll buy it anyways.
Yeah, I bought it.
Yeah, I mean, when I get paid, I'll pick it all up. But they have a great sword, an Empire Great Sword, a Dwarf Slayer, a High Elf Mage.
Yep. And then expansion, a
Skaven expansion.
Something like that, yeah.
That's the Reichland, I think. Another expansion of the Empire that's available. So
let me just ask a quick question. The stereotypical female sorceress character, she wearing next to nothing?
The Dark Elf Sorceress?
Yeah.
Yeah, they all look exactly like the tabletop version.
Okay.
So, yeah, no, she's skimpalicious.
There we go.
That's
one of those things that really got me in Warhammer Total War 2 was the female elf.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, just take that whole progressive thought you might have about, female Stormcast, throw it out the window, because, baby, she's hot.
Nice.
Yeah.
All right,
I just wondered where they were going with the IP on that stuff. So.
Oh. Well, I mean, I'd imagine they did what they could to make them look as close to the models. I mean, the Blood Knight looks like a Blood Knight on foot.
Plus, all the stuff is years out, too.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
And you have years of lore to build on. It's not like, oh, this is new and they've never been undressed before. Yeah. This is how they look.
Oh, that's something that actually Games Workshop addressed on one of their
social
media pages was somebody was bringing up female models, et cetera, and they came out and said, yeah, this is something that we're working on to incorporate more, but you have to understand that our production cycle is
3 years.
Yeah, so if we decide we want to do it today, it will be 2020 by the time you start to see the fruits of that labor. And it has been in effect for a while. So I'd imagine this next year in 2018, we will finally start to see
a lot more.
Yeah.
Appropriate.
Variety, maybe Sisters of Battle, Plastic Sisters of Battle. Maybe they'll do Plastic Sisters of Battle.
I would think. And they had a pretty good interview on the Twitch about the exact same thing, and they're hyping on that now, that they're approaching this from a different tack. Like we were joking last podcast about, does the female Stormcast have a chain bikini? No, they're actually going to do it appropriately.
Yeah.
So, but it does take, and they were honest about it. It takes some time, but I believe they have more in the pipeline than they let on.
Always.
So, yeah.
Always.
So a good thing.
I think let's finish the realm of
New Dawn
on, how about that Atreus? That's super heavy.
Oh, don't even start.
Space Marine tank.
God.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
So good. So good.
That thing is just, it's resin sex.
Yeah.
It's just not fair. And it's,
and we would be totally willing to review a copy of it.
Oh. Assemble it with all of its foibles that might or might not be there.
Yeah, and paint it up
completely and send in pictures
like an Imperial Fist tank.
No, it would not be Imperial Fist. It would be Blood Angels.
All right, we'll do half of it as Blood Angels and half of it as Imperial Fist.
Oh, that's a match made in heaven.
We will very aggressively defend this wall.
With solar panels.
Yeah. So I'm hyped about it.
Okay, Rogel Trump.
I'm definitely.
It's a beautiful model.
I want to see more stuff come out for the Primaris Marines.
Yes.
Very hyped about that. So all right.
Okay. All right, let's call it over. No new dawn. No new dawn.
The Realm of Creation, where we're going to talk about what we've been up to in the hobby. Elric,
So I have been kind of on the paint hype train. I've been trying to. We were originally going to do a Tale of Four Warlords for 40K, and then half those warlords decided they didn't want to participate anymore. So it looks like Bill and I are going to do
a big narrative.
Yeah, we're going to do some kind of cool narrative thing because I'm doing Imperial Fists and he's doing Death Guard for 40K. It's going to be our gateway drug back into having a 40K armies.
Yeah.
So I've been trying to paint Imperial Fists, which has not been going well. So the Averland Sunset Primer Spray did not do what it says it's supposed to do on the tin, literally.
You sure it's just not you?
Yeah, so I may not be able to paint very well, but I can prime a damn model. Like, I know how to...
You can do a rattle can.
Yeah, I can do a rattle can. And yeah, I was talking with Chad about this yesterday. It's kind of hard to explain. The pigment would not go into the recesses of the model. Unless I would hold the model like 4 inches away from the nozzle in my hand and spray it, which you shouldn't have to do generally.
No.
So, like, a great example was the Captain in Gravis armor from the starter box, the Dark Imperium starter box. His cloak has some pretty substantial waves in it, right? No matter how much I sprayed that model, the yellow pigment would not go into the deeper recesses of that cloak.
That's really wild.
It just would not. I mean, I used an entire can on less than 30 infantry models.
Wow.
And there is still gray plastic showing through.
Jesus.
And it was about 76 degrees, 77 degrees Fahrenheit outside, so perfect temperature.
It's right in the range.
To prime. I primed in my garage, so wind wasn't an issue.
That's weird. Because I always see like Duncan when he does the yellow things and they come out.
And yeah, I mean,
really
that's the first time I've heard that. I mean, I've heard some people talk about how the Averland Sunset was like nirvana.
Yeah, I was super stoked to use it.
Yeah, and I got a can for the Sector Imperialis haulers, the servo haulers, and I was like, that's going to make quick work of them. Now I'm a little nervous.
Maybe it was the can. I don't know, because I've never... And it would dry, like, instantly. The moment it would touch the model, it was dry.
Did you shake it before? No.
Now, I did use
you were holding it upside down.
about half the propellant beforehand to get as high as I could.
Oh, you were huffing it first. That's why your mustache
is a little bit for the models,
yellow.
a little bit for me. Come on. But, yeah. And the only time, like, so I was, I had a bunch of models on top of like a shoebox or whatever I was priming on. And I was just going back and forth as you do. And there were a couple of times where I'd forget there was a guy in front of the guy that I was priming in the back, and he would get blasted kind of close range. And that was the only time that it would actually have like a look of wetness. And it would, by the time I moved on to priming like the other side of the box, it was already completely dry, as if it had been there all day. Like, that's how fast this stuff dried. And I've never, like, when I prime with the white or the black, that stuff dries pretty quick too, but not like...
Not as it comes out.
Yeah. Not instantly. So, I mean, we're obviously in a pretty dry climate. We live in a desert, but I mean, it's not the Sahara.
Right, no, it's
I'm
not
not priming in Death Valley here. I don't know. So from now on, I will likely prime white and then just put Averland Sunset through my airbrush and just go that route. I think it's...
I wonder if you got a bad can, because I mean,
that sounds really, really, really weird.
Yeah,
because I also use.
Well, how far away are you priming?
About 4 feet away.
No,
there
you go.
It's about 12 inches, about
8 to 10. Yeah, 8 to 10, 12. Yeah,
like, I know how to prime models.
Right.
I've been spraying stuff with a spray can for 25 years, but
you're the one that did the side of my house.
Maybe.
I don't know.
Okay. Was it a giant penis?
Yeah, that was the one.
Yeah, well, that's me.
You son
it's
of
my
a...
calling card.
Yeah.
So, but, like I use the Retributor Gold, and that's a perfect primer.
Yeah, that's an amazing paint.
Everything came up fine with that, but for some reason...
Yeah, I don't think it's you. I really think you might have a bad can.
You try your can on the terrain. Tell me the results you get.
Yep.
If it's anywhere near the same... then I'll just go the airbrush route, which I'll likely do mostly anyways. But I'd be willing to buy another can if maybe it was that can that just didn't quite hit.
Yep.
So Who knows?
Yeah, I'll try to knock those things together this week because I already knocked together the one. Oh, yeah. Well, I'll talk about it when we get to my part.
So, other than that, I think I've really done much else.
Try a wet palette for the first time?
Yeah, tried a wet palette for the first time. Yeah, I still need help with.
Discovered maybe it's your paintbrushes?
I think it's the brushes. I think I'm not getting all the paint out of them somehow. So I'm going to try to use my soap again, see if maybe that helps. I don't know. I meant to bring my stuff today so you guys could tell me what I'm doing wrong. I'm seriously going to, and now I'm really looking into doing like painting videos.
Yeah.
That I do, or basically videoing myself while I paint like a Muppet and then uploading them so that people can see and maybe they're having the same problems. 'Cause something I notice is like these guys like Vince and all these other guys that do these wonderful painting videos, they show great techniques and, and how to accomplish really simple things. But I think the way they approach it, well, obviously the way they approach it is from the standpoint of somebody who knows what they're doing. They've been painting for years.
Right.
They are literal professional painters. And so sometimes I think when they say, well, it's really easy, all you got to do is this, sometimes that doesn't translate well to somebody who's never picked that stuff up.
Yeah, it's because they've gone way beyond that technique, so now it's really easy for them. But
right, it's the same thing with the Duncan videos when he's like, just put 2 thin coats and then highlight, and his stuff looks fantastic. And then if you try it and it's the first time you've ever picked up a paintbrush, it can be really easy to get discouraged. So the way what I want to do is do like these videos where I basically just like stumble through stupid stuff and maybe people can see it and be like, oh, that's the same problem I'm having. Somebody else is having it. We'll fix it together kind of thing. Does that make sense?
I'm just hearkening back to the books I used to buy, the Idiot's Guide to XXX.
It's like basically if you could watch a YouTube video of a monkey trying to assemble a car engine.
Right.
Maybe you wouldn't feel like such an idiot trying to assemble a car engine. You'd be like, oh, somebody else out there is equally useless. I'm not alone.
I think you got a winner on your hands.
All right. There we go.
I'll watch them.
All right. I think that's what I'm going to try to set up.
I like it.
So, all right, what do you guys been doing?
Well, for me, I built and primed my Shadespire models last night.
Right, yeah, I saw those.
I built up the set of terrain from the Shadow War Armageddon box.
That looks fantastic.
It's amazing stuff. And I wanted to build that one just exactly by the rules that were in the thing to make them all look the way so that I could see how their modular system worked.
Is it pretty good?
It's amazing. Yeah, it's very cool. Now, that's not the, super GW models. That is the Chinese plastic stuff. But it goes together really well. The edges meet.
So it's not all warped?
No, it's not like the Ophidian Gateway. And
do you think it's because of the thickness, or?
I think that stuff is made to a much different tolerance. I would have to say that was done by a different company than did the Ophidian Archway and the Numinous Oculum and stuff. It's just the edges meet on all of those things. When you put the 2 pieces together, the circumference is perfect. You put a little glue on there, it's perfectly matched. It's not like the corners on that Numinous Oculum where there's nothing you can do to make them meet.
Using like a tube of green stuff per model.
Yeah. Or, putting it on literally a table saw to get rid of the waves in it. So no, I think it's a different company.
You think maybe they switched to a different company?
I don't know if they switched or if they just see
product.
Different. This one has a different visual standard as opposed to the Age of Sigmar stuff or the fantasy stuff where, if a rock isn't in the perfectly right place, it doesn't really matter. When you look at it, it looks right. If these walkways were out of place, it would look stupid. So I think they just have a different standard.
Okay.
So, but they went together like a dream. And the way the walkways go together and the way everything fits and snaps together, I can see when I build the rest of the kits that it's going to be fun because with the application of a couple of magnets here and there, you're going to be able to build up or out or however you want to do it. Because it's true. Everything is the same height and everything is the same length. So even if you want to take something from the Prometheum pipes and run it along there, it's going to mate up perfectly. It's not going to be out of alignment. It's not going to look like you just shoehorned it in there, or you had to put, like you said, 2 pounds of green stuff to make it look right.
How heavy is it? Like when you start stacking it up on top of each other, does the weight get?
It's heavier, like it's heavier plastic than is used in the miniatures and in the tanks and stuff.
Okay.
So it will hold in place. If you did like a 3 or 4, like that one they did for that battle report where it was like 9 stories tall. Now I know they glued that together. At least it looks like they glued it together.
Yeah.
But still, that thing would stay in place. It's not going to just tip over. But it is going to be heavy. So I made a set of decals. First time ever, or second time ever, I actually printed out decals on that decal paper and did the bonding and all that stuff. That was kind of an interesting. I did a set of Blood Angels for myself, and I did a set of
Imperial Fists.
Imperial Fists for you. Yeah, it's kind of interesting. I didn't realize how easy it was. And I also didn't realize when you start looking this stuff up, there aren't any printers in the world that print white. You can print all the colors, but if you want a white background, you have to buy white decal paper and do everything else because printers don't print white. There's no way to make white. Not without a high-end printer that has a white cartridge. Since most of the printers we use red, green, blue, and black as their ink toners, you can't print white. The base has to be white, and then you build up from that. So I was looking at the Imperial Fists, and I'm like, why aren't those, clear in the background? And I realized, because it's a really light gray. And then I realized they can't. There's no way to print white.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah, it's an interesting thing. So if you're doing decals and the majority of it is white, make sure you buy the white decal paper, and then, make sure there's a hole where that stuff bleeds through so that you're, like for the Blood Angel symbols, I only had one sheet of white. So I had to make sure that it was transparent where the drops and where the wings were so that the white stood out, stood through.
Fun. I didn't even think about that.
I hadn't either. I had never even considered it, but it's true. And then I did more work on the Fetid Blight drone. I got to do a bunch of poxwalkers and got to get ready for our stuff.
Yeah, there's no way I'm going to have my starter done by the end of the month.
Yeah, you and me both. So, but since we're turning it into a narrative thing, I think we can sort of relax that and press on as we go.
Have more fun.
Yeah.
Cool.
That was me.
James?
Just plugging away slowly on Warriors. I finished the 30 Warriors, so.
I was going to say, it's a plethora of Warriors.
To a tabletop standard?
Tabletop standard, all line highlighted and base and wash. Next is some Chariots.
Nice.
So.
Who's tabletop standard, may I ask? Because that to me right there is like, whoop, I'm done. And for James, they're like, yeah, this is my crap.
I guess it gets me an army on the table. Whatever.
Nope, that's it. And then just kind of helping Jules with his Stormcast. So.
Nice. How far along is he with that?
He's got it all built. We do have to do some bases still. He's doing the same bases that I do. So he was doing the gravel with some broken tile and then the flock. So we got to finish the bases on a couple of those, and everything else is primed. And then he's doing the anvils of
Eldenhammer or whatever.
Yeah, the black guys with the gold trim.
Yeah.
Nice. And then the red. So he will hopefully get that done for First Blood coming up here in a month.
Yeah, like a month away.
Yeah.
Nice.
Close.
So I'm letting him paint all that.
Fun.
I'm gonna try to let him paint it all. Nice. This has been his project, so
yeah,
maybe we'll have him on or something later. But he's the one he picked the army. He's writing the list for it.
Learning how to play it.
Trying
to find out how he can put 12 snakes into a Stormcast army.
Allies, right? Allies.
Yeah, there you go.
I'm pretty sure I saw that in there. Allies.
Yeah. Don't dictate my narrative.
Yeah. Jules becomes the next narrative.
Yeah. Super themey, bro.
Yeah.
My Lord Relictor brought him. So.
That's it.
Cool. Shall we go on to battle?
Yeah. The Realm of Battle. Where everybody else gets to talk about games they played. Because I'm too cool for that, apparently. So, what have you guys been up to playing?
Well, I'll go first because mine's easy. Shadespire yesterday.
Yeah.
On release day. Snap got together over at one of the group's house, Chad's house, and you were there. Andrew was there. Of course, it was Chad's house, so he was there. And we busted it all apart, played a few games, had a blast. I played against the wife because I knew we were going to have to leave. We had to pick up her car at the dealership. So we had to leave kind of early. So we figured this way we'd be able to continue the game when we got home. And I won the first game with Stormcast. Then she figured it out and beat me the second game with the Chaos guys, the Reavers. And then I won the third game by like a point. So I won the match.
Nice.
And it was a super fun game. And of course, she's been around gaming and she's been around miniatures. She has a Skaven army. So she knows a little bit about the stuff, but not what I would consider an expert.
Yeah.
Picked it up right about same speed as anybody else. So if she can learn it, anybody can learn it. So
Sweet.
it's going to be we'll get into it in lore. So
Yeah.
that's all I had.
Yeah, I was showing it to my wife last night when I got home, and because she enjoys, like, we played some of the Fantasy Flight did a couple like little card games for like Warhammer. I cannot remember the names of. They did like a card game of Warhammer Quest.
Yeah.
That we played, and then Chaos Marauders.
Yep.
Something like that. She really enjoyed that. So she likes kind of the quicker card game style things. So I think this might be a good fit for her too. So
it's nice and quick, and we'll get into it more. So anyway, James, you were at a tournament yesterday. You didn't play Shadespire with us.
No, I did a 850-mile round trip yesterday.
Oh, God dang. For those of you in England, that's way further than your island.
yeah.
Yeah, for a one-dayer. Drove up to Denver with Jules. Had a pretty decent turnout. 14 people. We ran it all on the Best Coast Pairings app. Easy as pie.
Yep.
Which let the TO just walk around and take pictures. And if anyone wants to see it, it's on the Denver Age of Sigmar Facebook page. Some cool stuff. We had pretty good variety of armies. Good variety of players. First round, I played Seraphon.
Yay!
And I brought Zinch.
Ooh.
He was... I don't think he had played Zinch because he was apologizing to me for all his special rules that hurt demons. I was like, it's okay. I think I can handle it.
Yeah.
So, Mortal Wounded Krokoff with like 13 turn 2. That was all she wrote. Then played our friend Chad.
Who was here for the Rolling Bad Rumble.
Yep, playing his Sylvaneth. That was a really cool game. It was 2 really nice painted armies.
Yeah, his Sylvaneth are fantastic.
Yeah. I got a good look at them this time, and they're excellent. I kind of apologize to him because that was
Dagger in the Heart or whatever you said.
Knife to the heart.
Yeah, Knife to the Heart.
Yeah.
The one with the where heroes claim the new 3 places of power.
Yeah, 3 places.
I apologize because it was, I think, his worst matchup with the worst scenario.
Yeah.
And plus, I know Sylvaneth very well, so I kind of know what to do to take them apart. So, first turn, I didn't do that many wounds to Lariel. Turn 2, though, did something like 25 mortal wounds to Lariel.
Wow.
Because she's susceptible to mortal wounds.
As all Sylvaneth are.
And then turn 3, turned around and did like 15, 16 mortal wounds to Durthu. And that was all she wrote. And I just had a shaman on top of a objective for like 1 or 2 turns, and that was the end.
Wow.
And then, so that was game 2. And then game 3, Fire Slayers. Excited about this.
Yeah.
Get some good practice in. He had a very alpha strikey army, where his whole army basically pops up 9 inches away from you, fires all its axes twice, charges in with all kinds of rerolls, rerolling all kinds of wounds. Very interesting learning experience. Probably about 4 or 5 key moments in the game where if any one of the things had gone my way, I would have pulled it out, but I won't make those same mistakes twice.
Yeah.
So he's said he's going to go to LVO, so if I decide to go, I think I'll be prepared for that match. But
Right
so
on.
go and I was able to keep him to a minor victory.
Minor win.
Yeah, because he was on my side of the board. He pretty much tabled me turn 3, but with his slow little dwarves, he wouldn't have had enough turns or enough movement to get to the other side of his objective in the corner with the 2 returns remaining. So kept that to a minor loss, and that was all. Landed up getting 3rd in the BCP app, so that was pretty good.
Nice.
And because I'm a podcaster, I walked away with Best Painted.
Damn podcaster
Yeah.
privilege.
Yeah.
You know, we're always talking about how great the BCP app is and how it makes everyone's life so much easier.
Right.
Can I be the negative guy and talk about what's wrong
Sure.
with
I
it?
mean, why don't you continue your narrative of
Okay.
crapping on everyone's happiness?
You know what's really funny about this app is every time I use it, I feel like I have to clean my iPhone screen because they have that parchment look to it. And on my phone, it always looks like the screen's dirty. I'm like, it's just the craziest thing. So, yeah, I will never use BCP again. Yeah, ever.
Because of...
I mean, until right now when I'm looking stuff up. But
Oh, Bill.
I'm serious. It's just the way they do the scrolling on the screen. The parchment effect stays, but everything scrolls underneath it. So I'm like, wow, my screen's really dirty. Oh no, it's not.
And you're like, what happened to my screen? It's got this weird black spot on it.
Yeah. So once again, we can only talk about how awesome BCP is. You pretty much sort of helped.
Yeah, because they had
show.
never run a tournament through it.
Yeah.
Or knew much about it. But it was pretty easy. Just walked up, got everyone registered.
Mm-hmm.
If you've ever done an ITC event, you put in your email address and it auto-populates all your info already.
It's amazing.
And people can either submit their own results or they can come up to me and the TO can enter them real quickly. So, like I said, it gave the TO time to just walk around and take pictures and kind of just hang out. It wasn't, you push a button, all your pairings are done.
Did you see the pictures of the SoCal Open?
I did a little bit, yes.
There's one shot in there that's great. Frankie and I can't think of the other guy's name, but all the TOs are sitting around a table.
Oh, yeah.
And they're all playing Shadespire.
Yeah, it's like Frankie, Jason, Pablo.
Yeah, Jason, Pablo's there. And they're all playing Shadespire while they're running a 140-man tournament because there's nothing to do. It's 8th edition, so there's no questions. And they're using BCP, so there's no... So they're all just sitting there playing other games. I'm like, that's awesome.
Yeah, did you also notice that they had the Iron Jaws and Skeleton?
Yeah, and Skeletons. Yeah. Same thing if you... Well, I'll do this in lore. Yeah. But yeah, it's pretty cool. So was that all of our battles?
I think so.
Okay. We shall move on. The Realm of Lore, where we're going to talk about an interesting topic. Recently, Tyler Emerson over at Scrubby and Wells did an episode with Rob Symes where they talked about honesty in gaming and sort of touched on positivity and negativity. But mostly they hit that whole positivity and honesty and integrity thing. And that's the thing that's really important to Rob, having that I don't sell my soul to anybody. I really enjoyed the heck out of that episode. I think it was his episode 32. It's really, really good to hear Rob's take on it. And I think we have I don't want to be a parrot of what they said, but we have a lot of similar thoughts, but I think we're a little more free to say things differently. And one of the things, I know like in the last episode, I went off on Tzeentch because I think Tzeentch offers a negative play experience to the people that play against it. Yes, I mean, it can be beaten. Yes, there's answers to it out there. It's not going to win every tournament, but I don't think it's fun to play against for a lot of people. Unless you're in that real competitive mindset, it's not fun. And I think people might think that I'm down on Age of Sigmar, or I don't like the game anymore, or something like that. And nothing could be further from the truth. And I think sometimes as podcasters, we lose sight of the fact that what we say on the podcast informs the opinions of a lot of people who may only have a few sources of opinions that they refer to. So if all you ever listen to is, say, Heelanhammer, you're going to get a very different view of the game than if all you ever listen to is the Ninth Realm from the guys in California.
Yeah.
You'll have a whole different view of the game. Now, if you listen to everything, you'll get that mishmash and you'll be able to pick through and understand where people are coming from. But what I want to get at is don't ever use one source. You know, we always talk about Russ Veal and Ben Curry and some of these other guys as the kind of players that if you want to be in the competitive scene, you want to be like those guys. The flip side of that is if you're not Russ Veal, chances are what works for him will not work for you. So don't use his opinions on Facehammer as the only thing. If he says tomorrow that, I don't know, Free Peoples are the stupidest army in the world and they're junk and they're crap and no one should ever play them. Well, that's his opinion.
Sure.
Take it as that. Don't think that that's the way it is across the board everywhere. So anyway, what do you guys think of that kind of, do you think we have a responsibility as podcasters to temper what we say? Or do we continue to just pound on Sylvaneth and pound on Tzeentch and, pound on all of our little pet peeves when in reality we might actually be affecting people's view of the game? We might be doing more harm than good in the community. And we all say we do podcasts to help the community. Are we helping when I go off on Tzeentch? Are we helping when we go off on Sylvaneth?
So I think that as podcasters and stuff, I think that is the case that I don't know how to say it without sounding pretentious because I'm really not trying to be, but I think there is definitely evidence that what people who are perceived as being big names in the community, when they say things, it carries weight. I'm not saying that we're like that. I don't think people, in regards to someone like Russ Veal, he has proven time and time again that he knows what he's talking about. Right. So when he does say certain things, it does carry, and it should carry some weight. I mean, because of what he has accomplished. I guess... I guess it is a bit of that, with great power comes great responsibility. Well,
that's what I'm getting at is, okay, yeah, we all know that when Russ Veal speaks, you can listen to it and pretty much take it to the bank. But what about the guy who, and heaven forbid this actually happens, but what if there's a guy out there that only listens to us? Right now, he thinks Sylvaneth are lame, Tzeentch is overpowered, and, his opinion is now informed by that. Because that's all he knows. It's all he gets. And unfortunately for the world, because we're a media thing, he now thinks we're experts and that our opinion matters. He doesn't know that that's not true.
I don't know. I think Rob kind of went over this where he said, everyone's got their opinion. It's all their own thing. Take it for that, just being an opinion and not necessarily fact. And they might not be intentionally leading you down a certain path, but to them, there's different perspectives, and truth is in this kind of hobby is relative. I don't know. I just kind of...
Should we put a disclaimer at the beginning of the show? That everything is... So I do think some shows are pretty good about clarifying that what they're stating is based on their personal experiences and therefore are their opinions. Mm-hmm. And maybe some shows aren't so clear about that distinction. And I think a lot of it is also the way it's delivered and the context that it's put in, things like that. I mean, I guess if a show is continuously negative about a certain army,
like us.
Yeah, but I think at this point, anybody who has listened to this show knows that I'm joking for the most part. I mean, obviously, you snuck in that rant about...
I didn't sneak it in. I was told to put it in.
About the Sylvaneth. But since then, my opinions on Sylvaneth have changed. And But I was clear about that a long time ago. I said that if new armies came out and they were at this power level, then Sylvaneth would not be an issue.
And it's what's borne out.
Yeah. And
plus you were speaking from a perspective. That's what I think you got to take into is what's the person's perspective. Because you're taking that from the perspective of an Iron Jaws player who doesn't have an answer necessarily to a rerollable save.
Right.
And don't have the more wound output to deal with them.
Or ranged weaponry or anything like that. So perhaps we should all be a little more careful when we speak and try to do a better job of conveying the context that we are basing our opinions out of, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, see, that leads to the question that is really the one that formed this realm of lore is, should we be falsely positive about stuff so as to not turn anyone off? Or should we be honest about what we think about things, knowing that a portion of the listenership and a portion of the community is going to be turned off by that? And I think we made a decision a long time ago that we're going to say what we feel.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
Which is one of the reasons we don't have sponsors.
We don't have sponsors and we don't have, free stuff from GW because I'll call them out when they need to be called out. And I might be dead wrong. And I think current events will prove that I'm dead wrong about Tzeentch. I'm dead wrong about a lot of things. I know I'm not wrong about Dumpster Firestorm, but no, I'm kidding. But really, pretty much we've all been proven wrong. Sylvaneth are not a thing that broke the game. They were a thing that broke the game for a few weeks, a few months, and then the game caught up to them. Sure, the same thing's going to happen with Tzeentch. Something's going to catch up to them. Right now, they're a thing, and the whole community sees them as a thing. So I don't think we're way too far off. But do we have a responsibility to say, but they're really good, and they're a lot of fun to collect and paint? Should we be falsely positive?
Well, I think we should be honest, but I think we should frame our honesty in a way that the listeners know that it's our opinion. Right. So like if a product comes out, whether it's, I crapped all over the terrain kits, the last episode or the episode before, I'm not sure. Yeah. And I was like, honestly, that's embarrassing how bad this stuff is. But that's my opinion.
Based on your personal experience.
Based off of the issues I had putting it together. Now, when I reached out on social media, it seemed like that was a general consensus that other people also had issues with those terrain kits as well. But, what I said in regards to that and in regards to the terrain was my opinion that this is pretty much an unacceptable product and it's something that they should definitely rectify. So hopefully, earlier when you're talking about the Shadow War Armageddon, maybe they, again, I think we were off air when we were talking about, we were talking about it on air, about how the development process is years out. Yeah. So maybe when they did put out some of those terrain kits a year or two ago when AOS was rolling out and people were like, what? This is garbage. And they were like, oh, well, let's change a distributor or let's change the manufacturer. Let's change the kits and stuff. And now we're finally starting to see the new stuff roll out.
The fruits of the new.
We'll see how those new kits come out from.
Yeah, you look at the stuff in Moonbase Clasius. It's the same stuff as in Armageddon. It's good stuff. There's good detail. It goes together well. It doesn't look anything like a Numinous Oculum. So
okay, well then, but ultimately, that was based off my opinion. And that's kind of one of the benefits of our show is that I can give an honest opinion on anything I want, because we're not going to hurt our bottom dollar or whatever like that. And if I see a kit that I don't like, I can say, no, this is not a good kit. This, Games Workshop dropped the ball. And that's not, being negative against the company. I think it's also disingenuous to just give everything a rave review because Games Workshop put out another thing and it's just everything is amazing. Yeah, they have an amazing track record.
Oh, yeah.
And the majority of it is out of the park, but they crap the bed sometimes too. And I think it is more honest of us as a community to say, hey, whoa, this one didn't hit, whatever this was. And I think as podcasters, we owe it to our listeners in the community to be honest about that with our opinions, right? I think that's what you're kind of getting at is with this whole thing is that
it's going to go back to that honesty issue. Tyler in the Scrubby and Wells episode kind of brought out, he didn't harp on the fact and he didn't really bend on it too much about people that get review copies from companies. And I'm going to very specifically avoid GW and the other podcasts in this community. I'm going to talk about a different community. Okay. And what's really strange is there's another game out there from a reasonably big company that might be in the Pacific Northwest. And they've released some things in the past that if you listen to the podcasts and some of the YouTube channels that get preview copies was just amazing and just wonderful and absolutely awesome. In some of the cases, I didn't hear any dissenting opinions. And then when the actual stuff drops, people are like, this is crap. This is an absolute flaming pile of junk. And yet, no one in the community, in the know, the power players, the people whose opinions form other people's opinions, none of them ever said anything bad about it. And is that fear of losing the gravy train? Is that
don't
fear?
Bite the hand that feeds.
Don't bite the hand. And I'm not saying, one thing I think we've all come to learn over time with GW, and you kind of know who gets review copies, and you kind of know where their opinion goes.
Everybody but us.
Yeah, everybody but us. But you also know that, if Heelenhammer says, this is this, you can pretty much take that to the bank. It's that. I hate to name names and all that stuff, but really Dave Witek up at Garage Hammer, he's pretty honest about stuff that he likes and doesn't like.
Yeah.
I've never really questioned whether he's not just waving the flag for the flagship. But there's also some others out there that I tend to wonder if they're giving really straight out honest reviews or if they're colored a little bit. I'm not going to name any names or anything like that, but there's a few, I think, that might. I think sometimes you learn more about what they really think about the product by what they don't say about it, what the amount of time they don't spend on it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, the fanboy is a little too strong.
Yeah.
I get
it's
that.
better to not say anything than to say this might not be the best product ever. The basic question I'm getting at is, do podcasts and YouTube channels have a responsibility in the community building area to not be negative about things because they might be someone's only source of information? Someone might only listen to, I don't know, insert podcast here. They may only watch YouTube channel X. And therefore, their opinion is completely based on this. And we saw this in the beginning of Age of Sigmar. Everyone hated the game.
Yeah, a lot of people.
But we were out there playing it and having fun with it. Why does everyone hate this thing?
Well, I know for a fact we lost some people in our community based off of reviews that certain blogs put out. And, when they harped on like the 4-page rules, that statement alone was enough for a bunch of people, quite a few people here to decide they didn't even want to try the game. They've never played a game of it, but they hate it. They know they hate it.
Right. They know they hate it because it's
and that was based off of, a blog that gets they get stuff from Games Workshop to preview and all that stuff. So I guess the flip side to that is, what if I see myself as being honest and it just happens to be that my honest opinion is something that's always negative? Because I guarantee you there's people out there
there's people.
I'm being honest.
Yeah.
Games Workshop just sucks.
Yeah.
Oh, look at that. Another piece of crap. Yeah. That's my honest opinion.
Look at this $80 box of hellishness.
Right? I mean, because there's plenty of those clowns out there. What do you say to that?
I think,
because I mean that's the flip side. Because you kind of, I think a part of you is calling out the guys who are like overly positive, and like maybe you're doing a little bit of a disservice by maybe in your eyes you're being honest, but maybe you are.
But you're also colored by the fact that you don't want the gravy train to end.
Maybe you're scrubbing those balls a little too much. But the flip side to that is guys who are like, "Oh no, I'm being brutally honest about the fact that Games Workshop hasn't put out anything good since second edition."
Yeah. Well, and what's funny is, there's a lot of people out there who believe in their minds, they believe they're dead right to call out nothing but hate and vitriol on this stuff because you know what? I have to counterbalance all these slobbering flag wavers like, the guys out at Rolling Bad who say everything they do is good.
Yeah.
Well, have you ever listened to those guys? Because they do poke fun sometimes. No, they're just a bunch of flag wavers. They all have the same shirt. Yeah.
Sycophants.
Yeah,
Lemmings.
Exactly. So, and it's one of those things that it drives you nuts after a while because you listen to some of these podcasts or some of these. I just get so sick and tired of that negativity. If that's your true belief, why are you still spending energy to talk about it? Do you not know that you're wasting your own time? Go hate it in your own way.
I don't know, man. It looks like there's blogs and stuff out there who have made a pretty penny off of being a bunch of negative a-holes.
Sure.
Especially against Games Workshop. It's almost like a mini industry they've created.
Yes, a niche.
Of negative, whiny-ass haters.
And what's really getting hard for those guys right now is the more the company turns around and becomes the GW we all know now, it's harder and harder to poke hate at them, even when they release something that's not, A++, knock it out of the park. Well, somebody's going to grab onto that and go, well, would you look at that? That thing's just... Yeah. But, I mean, and I keep poking on us because I'm familiar with us. Do we do a disservice when we say how bad the Numinous Oculum kit is? Are we turning somebody off?
I would, in my honest opinion, no. I think you have to, because we're not only being honest with ourselves and the listeners, but I think we're also being honest with the company and saying like, hey, you might have slipped up here.
Because they do listen to this stuff and they...
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. I mean, they've been pretty open about how they listen to podcasts. They listen to the community now as a whole. And, it's one thing to be like, this army is stupid, blah, blah, blah.
Oh, yeah.
This is how I feel about this Moon Clan. This Moon Clan is just out of control, way too powerful. You need to tone those squigs down. That's one thing, but to be like, hey, this kit is just not on the same level as the rest of the stuff you produce. Like, what happened? Maybe you guys need to look into it. I don't know. I think that's, incumbent upon us to do that sometimes.
I will maintain that I would not ever say anything on this podcast that I would not walk up to a GW employee at whatever level they are, all the way from Jervis to the CEO to the guy that scrubs the floors. I would tell him the same exact thing. I think Tzeentch is a silly army to play against. They're not going to ruin the game. It doesn't make it to where the game doesn't play. It's not, I don't want anyone to get the idea that when I say these things, the game is broken or the game is horrible. But when I think about what I said, because I sit there and I listen to these podcasts 8 to 10 times when I edit them, and I listen to myself droning on and on about Tzeentch, and I'm like, will you shut up?
Is that coming, I'm just thinking about it now, is that coming from your perspective? Because the way I'm thinking about it is Tzeentch is kind of a problem, but from the way I see it is competitive players, like you said, know how to deal with Tzeentch.
Yeah.
It's not a problem. You're coming at it from a perspective of a casual player, on which I agree they are super unfun for casual players.
Yeah.
So for a casual player to play against who doesn't have the experience or wants to think about it that hard on how to counter them.
Yeah.
Because I know that was kind of like a big thing when Stormcast, they could deep strike the whole army in, and it was like a huge big thing. I saw the casual players complaining about it more than the Russ Veals and Terry Pikes because they knew how to deal with it.
Right.
Simple bubble wrap. I designed my list a certain way, and maybe that's just voicing your opinion as the casual player.
It is. It's completely formed by the fact that I'm not competitive.
Maybe that's got to come for some critical listening of our viewers to try to understand. I mean, because that's the way when I listen to something, I try to understand the perspective of the other person. And so maybe some of that responsibility falls onto the listener to understand that Bill, as a casual player, could find it fun. Because, like, you know, my first round Seraphon opponent, he was the casual player.
Right.
And I felt really bad playing my army against him.
As you should.
As I should, but when I was playing,
how dare he come to a tournament to enjoy games?
But when I was playing against my third round opponent with his Fire Slayers, I didn't feel bad about it because we were both on the same.
He was there to kick your teeth in.
We were both on the same level there, so.
And I agree completely, and I think it's incumbent on us to make sure. And I think if you've listened to more than one or two shows, people would know right now that I'm not the good player in the group. I'm the worst player in the group. Well, except for Elric. But I did finish higher than you. So.
Yeah, you did. I love you.
So, but I mean, people do know that you're the competitive guy. You're the one that knows how to play the game and can. You don't look at Tzeentch the same way I do because you're like, yeah, I can beat that. But like we were talking earlier, and I said, when you play a game against something that you've not run across before, you'll make that mistake once and never again. Next time you play them, you won't make that mistake. Me, it'll be 4 or 5 times playing against that army before I figure out, I shouldn't do those things.
Which is where that unfun element might come in. You just like, it kind of looks...
Well, and that's the other thing too, is I have time for maybe one game a month.
Yeah.
And I don't want that game to be, hey, look, I set out my stuff and took it off on turn 1. That was fun. Yay.
Why don't you learn to play better, Bill?
I'd have to go to like a boot camp. And hey, there's my next thing. I'm going to make a boot camp for AOS where you could go and learn to play. Oh, shit, I need to hire somebody that knows how to play.
Yeah, all you're going to teach them is to slow play.
Still sore about that, huh?
Yeah, well,
loser.
Yeah.
Keep your eye on the scenario, Elric.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Whatever.
So, I mean, it does. You are completely correct. But by the same token, the guy that listens to his first AOS podcast, and unfortunately, it happens to be Rolling Bad episode 32. What he takes away from that is, here's 3 experts in this game, because who else would
no.
But that's it. Who else would get together and podcast other than experts, right? Because the expert is just the guy from out of town. If you've been in business long enough, you know the expert is nothing more than the guy from out of town.
So, yes, we're going to have to start putting a disclaimer at the beginning. These are just 3 a-holes sitting in a room talking about a game.
Right, but if this
we have no real knowledge. We kind of make it up as we go. The rules tend to slow everything down.
Do we now call Russ Veal and say, hey, could you put a disclaimer at the top of your podcast that says, hey, listen, I'm the guy that can beat anybody's face in. Listen to me, because what I say is true.
Except
how do we get that?
He didn't win the Masters. It really should. It sounds like it should be Byron.
Wow. I would just like to apologize to all of you.
I mean, Russ didn't win the Masters, did he? The finals. Byron did.
Okay. I am so distancing myself from this because I don't want to get
beat up. With a non-conventional army. So, I mean, it wasn't Tzeentch or Blades of Corn or Stormcast that won it, so the finals must not have been that competitive. Is that how that works?
That's what they said about LVO.
Yeah. A list that nobody's really seen before. Must have been a walk in the park.
I can't believe this is our last podcast. Because we are about to get laughed out of town.
I mean, they must have just handed it to him. Nobody really showed up.
Yeah. So, I mean, our real big... I'm so trying to change the subject right now. I don't want to get beat up by the guys from England.
Yeah, they'll be here next year.
Yeah, they'll hurt me.
Yeah.
So, I'm going to edit all that out. Not really, though. But, I mean, it's the truth, though. If someone's first podcast ever was our last episode, and they somehow have this opinion that these 3 guys are experts, they now think certain things about terrain sets, and they now think certain things about Tzeentch,
And apparently they also think that I think the Earth is flat.
Well,
Thanks to you, Bill.
you walked into that for like 10 minutes.
That should totally disqualify us from being geniuses about anything.
And really, if you listen to the podcast, you know we're just a bunch of idiots. But what I'm saying is, if you listen to, say, just Scrubby and Wells, when Tyler comes across, he comes across as someone who's intelligent, thoughtful, and whose opinion probably matters a great deal.
Tends to be what happens when you use more than 2-syllable words.
Sure. Well, and he has a base education. Let's just give him that.
Yeah.
So
it's that classical music, man, every time.
Oh, it was driving me nuts, too. Kidding, Tyler. But really, when you listen to his show, you get a whole different vibe from him than us.
Sure.
He has that thoughtful. He has his questions prepared beforehand. He's not doing things off the cuff. I would naturally attach some sort of expert tag to him and say, this guy knows what he's talking about, so what he says is right. However, we all know he plays Sylvaneth, so how right can he be? Zing!
All I have going through my head right now is 2001: A Space Odyssey, where we're the monkeys in the beginning figuring out how like a wheel works, and like Tyler is Hal.
Yeah,
right. Like that's the distance between our thought process.
Right. But does that incur on him a greater responsibility?
I'm going to put all the responsibility on him.
Good idea.
Yeah.
Let's do that.
Only one of us gets to drive the car. The rest of us are fighting in the back seat. I mean, if he wants to turn the car around, that's his call. But you're the one driving the intellectual car here, Tyler. So
I guess we can continue being just three idiots, and we'll rely on Tyler to tell us how the game's going.
Well, I mean, to add a certain level of credibility. Anyways.
Oh, gotcha.
I don't know.
So anyway, yeah, that's my whole premise for this was our responsibility as podcasters, but also at the same time to express to listeners that you also have to take some of the responsibility on yourself to understand that any source of information you get is
biased.
Like James said, you have to question where they come from.
Yeah.
If it's a bunch of competitive guys, well, they're going to be framed differently than, say, Garage Hammer with Dave and Alex. Alex is the competitive guy. He's the guy that goes and wins. Dave is the guy that plays to have a lot of fun and to enjoy himself. And I think we all know that's the mix there.
Well, I thought Dave was the hyper-competitive
one.
one.
He's super competitive, yeah.
Yeah. Isn't he the one that's always, like, smashing the top tables?
Pretty much.
That's what I thought.
Yeah.
That's what the vibe I got listening to him.
But again, it's incumbent on the listener to sort of take things with a grain of salt, especially when it comes to opinions about the company and the products that they put out.
Yeah. Well, I think that's also why, we have the whole realm of the New Dawn where we go into depth. And then also we, go into it even more so sometimes in the realm of creation with that's why I like to talk so much about my experiences with, instead of being like, well, I put a layer on this model and then I layered up to this color and then I layered some more.
Yeah.
Or what? It's like, yeah, I painted a guy, but here's like some actual issues or things that I found that work and stuff like that. That's why I try to go more in depth. And that's why I brought up the whole thing about the terrain. Kids is like, look, man, this is rough. So,
yeah. Anything else we want to add before we sign off?
Wait for it.
Black Library Books giveaway.
Yes, that's the one. So, last episode, I talked about doing a contest to give away an Age of Sigmar Black Library book. So the way, and I hadn't come up with a contest or anything like that. The way I want to do this one, at least this initial one, is if you're on Twitter, use the hashtag #IReadAOS. Very straightforward. What's wrong?
Nothing.
Is that not going to work?
No, I'm just...
Does that translate? Is it going to be like Googling Seraphon the first time? get a bunch of like fluffy or furries or whatever the hell they were.
I was just thinking, what if there's like a different thing? I was
I know.
trying to put the letters together and go, oh my God, that's so dirty. We're going to have all the porn people.
Well, then maybe they'll win a copy of a
Win a
book.
copy of a book.
All right. So, yes, use the hashtag #IReadAOS. And then as far as what, your actual tweet, just maybe say something about like your favorite AOS books, your favorite characters, maybe tag your favorite authors. A bunch of those dudes are on Twitter and they like to talk about their stuff, which is super cool. So just, use that. And then at the end of like 2 weeks or whatever, when we do the next show. So I will go through the hashtag chain or whatever they call it on Twitter. And I will randomly select somebody using that hashtag, and I will send them a copy of Spear
of Shadows.
Spear of Shadows. Good Lord, I can't. Which is a fantastic book.
So this is a real book. It's not the one we photocopied.
What do you mean the one we photocopied? What are you talking about? No. So, yeah. If you have any ideas of another great way to give away Age of Sigmar books, let me know. If I could turn this into something where we do like every show, we're giving one away, that would be fantastic. I would love to be able to do that, but I want to do it in a way that's interesting that people will continue to be a part of, because I really want to use social media to show Games Workshop and Black Library that the demand for these books are there, and to generate more interest, so that if I can send you a copy of Plague Garden and you're like, oh wow, this is really good. It looks like they're finally getting the Mortal Realms and Age of Sigmar into a groove that was akin to the old world and those books that I used to love back then. What's the next one on my list? Oh, Spear of Shadows, or City of Secrets, or any of these short stories that are also really good.
Yeah.
So that's the hope. So let's do that as a community. Use the hashtag #IReadAOS, and I'll put out a tweet about that as well. So when the show goes up.
And I know how we can do this going forward too.
Okay.
Everyone that wants to be in the drawing for the book sends us $20.
Okay.
Then we'll draw one name out, send that guy a book. We'll make a crap ton of cash.
Oh, God.
No, that's not going to work.
Well, I mean, I don't see why not.
It's like a raffle, except you're paying more than the full price for the item. So, okay, that won't work.
No. Cool. So, yeah, there you go.
All right. So there you have it. The contest is in full swing.
And hopefully I will announce a winner next episode.
Yeah. We should probably go for longer than one show, because I'll put it out in the show notes this time and it'll be out in the show.
Okay.
Well, no, that gives everybody 2 weeks. I'm sorry. Yeah, you're right. I was thinking our schedule.
Well,
not
give
their
everybody
schedule.
a week, because we record on the off week that we don't release a show.
Yeah, that's right.
So we could either give everybody 1 week, or we'd give everyone 3 weeks. Yeah, to get it established, and then if we can do it every show, we can ramp it up to that.
For this first one, let's do it 3 weeks.
Okay, so cool. There you go.
Anything else?
8
more games.
No. The cake is a lie. Sylvaneth are susceptible to mortal wounds.
Okay.
I think we're good.
Let's call it over.
I apologise for that. I think you'll find this a bit more interesting.
Now
There's no point in doing this. I don't know why I try. Because every time you say something, I just have to start over.
Yeah.
Okay. That's good.
Let's see how fan. You said you had an extra one of these?
Yeah. When my order from GW came in, there was one in the box, and I'm like, I didn't order. Oh, I guess I did.
Well, that was really horrible.
Oh, you're always complaining!
I'll just be right some of the time, Bill. Everything is awesome!
Yeah!
Everything is... Yeah. No?
And now for something completely different.
Oh, useless brain.
Drove it out of my head.
Useless brain.
Oh, I hate you, brain.